Alright guys, I'm back and we're doing this. Here we have the Kubey Shark, or the Klingon Battlecruiser. I like calling it the Klingon Battlecruiser. I really like that name. But we are starting with our full-on testing. I don't know if we're calling it, I don't know if I want to go with a hard use test or the full-on test, the viewer request test, because I'm doing some of the tests that I would normally do, but I'm doing a lot of tests that were, I put it out there to the crowd. What do you guys want to see me do to this thing? Or with this thing? Or about this thing? That's what a lot of the things that we're going to do. Some very rational, and some technical, and some fairly ridiculous. That's what's going to go on. I'm excited to see how it does, because it's such a shape. It's interesting to me too, the way it sort of, depending on how you choose to line up the geometry of the blade, it takes on a different look, whether you line it up just along the axis of the blade there, or kind of along the axis of just the what am I thinking of, the center of gravity of the knife. It sort of takes on a whole different look. But anyway, I'm ready to start. And we are going to start with something that is, well, it's going to be interesting. Something that some people said, well, quite frankly, all they thought that this thing was good for. Something that they wanted to see. So let's get to test number 1. Now it's artsy. So, the first thing that people asked me to do, I think there were 3 or 4 of these. They said, "Hey, you want to test? You want to know what to do with it? Hang it up on a wall. Test hanging it up on a wall and leaving it there." So there you go. I found on Amazon some real nice stainless steel hooks that were just the right size, and so there you go. There's test number 1, guys. That's what it looks like up on a wall. And that's what it looks like next to a diamond painting of Lady and the Tramp, to class the joint up a little bit. But no, there you go. So, hey, if you're into displaying the thing, maybe you could even put it in a frame. There you go. What else do you want me to do with it? It's on the wall. It's on the wall. What did you want me to do with it once it was on the wall? It's on the wall. Test number 1, complete. Hang it up on the wall. How long do you want me to leave it there? I'm going to take it down now. I'm going to take it down. We're going to do some more stuff. Okay, our next fun event. A couple people said, like, food prep, sliced tomatoes specifically. I'm not going to do a whole lot of food prep with this thing. Maybe. I don't know. But I just happen to have these little grape tomatoes here because they come on every Wawa salad. I've been eating a lot of them. So let's see how fine we can get with these. Let's see if we can skin. Can we? Yeah, look at that. You see that? It's not bad. You can skin the tomato. And remember, I have not altered the edge on this. This is right out of the box. All we've done is we've cut some paper with it. That's, just these little slicey doos, and then the recurve section. So, okay. Yeah. Oh, now we're getting to a part where it almost starts to smush the tomato, but it's slicey dicey clean. So I think it's handling that pretty well. I'm not going to clean the blade either. So, you know, tomatoes are a little bit acidic. And this is D2 steel, which is a carbon steel. Now, it has that what I suspect is a nice lacquer coat on it. But I'm not going to clean the blade off at all. I'm going to leave it on there to see what the acidity of the tomatoes does to the carbon steel, because a carbon steel is, you know, would be more susceptible to patinaing. And did that do anything? Yeah, look at that. Just a nice little cut. That's all I want. Look, perfect little cut in the skin, and no damage to the fruit underneath, because tomato's a fruit. Look at that. And we could skin this. This is remarkable. It is, like, for a large knife, you could do some fine work with it. I'm pretty impressed. Let's see what we do with the. We do the same thing with the recurve. It's hard to control the recurve section, but it's a little harder to get the fine control in the recurve section because you can't really control the tip. But I also don't want to skirt a grape tomato out of my hand and figure out how effective it is at cutting the meat of a hand. But it's very, yeah, for that kind of work. Okay, test number 2. The tomatoes. Good. Now, there were some requests for some things that were slightly akin to, like, ninja skills, and so to that, I have 2 questions. Number 1, what makes you people think I have anything akin to ninja skills? And number 2, what makes you think I have the supplies to test things anywhere akin to ninja skills? But so what I do have are some old potatoes. Look, take it or leave it, okay? And I also have no shame and the willingness to embarrass myself for your entertainment and the sake of testing this knife. So enjoy. I do this for you.
Round 1, fight.
At least I got it, okay? That's a plus right there. I'm doing good. Fruit ninjing the crap out of this thing. I'm gonna try to grab it. Nope. New potato. Oh, yes. All right, maybe I do have some ninja skills. I don't know, but that's what I get for talking. Tato, can you move so I don't hit you with the Tato? I don't want to hit the Tato with the Tato. Just gonna eat this. Got it. Nice. I'm doing better than I thought. Give the old man some props. Hit a little one. Nope. One more try. One more try. That one didn't happen. Yeah, there we go. At least I got a piece of it. All right. So it is, you know, blade will slice random vegetables shit in midair. Let's move on. Number 3. Good. Some folks wanted some forged in fire type tests. See where I'm going with this? Because again, in the big box with the old potatoes, there's also some old apples. Nobody wants to eat these. Trust me. Okay. God, please don't let me smack the brick. That would be a whole test in and of itself, though, wouldn't it? Man, how do they do this on the show? They do it like this? They do it like this? I think they do it like this. I don't know. I think I cut like 2 of the apples and the rest just moved. I don't know how my angle was. I've never done this before. The angle on this has to be perfect when you're doing it so that you actually slice the apple and, you know, don't just hit it out of the way. And I'm very worried about hitting the brick. Not my finest test, but this is what happens when you crowdsource test events, you know? So, that one split. That one did split. I gotta go clean out apple and potato from all over the backyard. Has a distinct potatoey apple flavor. I'm gonna regret this one, but you guys asked. And I got one more of these old cans, so why not? I'm zoomed in here. Well, that was fun for you guys. I'm wet and sticky. And not for any good fun reasons. Yeah. Well, we've kind of did our aluminum can cutting tests. Aluminum can cutting tests already, which is great. Blade still feels pretty good. I don't see any big mars or scratches, actually, on the blade going through there. We'll revisit these cans, though, to do some more serious blade abuse. Let's move into the realm of some normal stuff that we might do. We'll start with a little bit of batoning. This wood's relatively hard wood, but I mean that'd be good for it, right? Now I'm not sure where to actually start, so let the knife decide. That was not bad. One of the things I like about it is that having such a long blade lets you, like once it's in there, apply leverage on either side wherever you need to really get that chop going, whether you need it on the forward side or the rear side. I think I actually nailed it into the brick a little bit that time, but let's see if let's just abuse the recurve section here and see how that goes. not bad. We'll just keep going with this piece right here. Oh, yeah, got a knot hole right there. I went right through it, though. That is not too bad. So if we needed to notch with it, a little bit hard to control in that sense. But it does, wow, it moves material. Look at that. It's not the most accurate, you know, and I'm sure, well, you know, if we use the recurve section, a little bit better, but you can notch with it, like, no problem. Taking the bark off this thing. Again, oh, my one thing is it's so big. I'm afraid to smack the point on anything, but man, look at it. Even after the first couple tests were funny, but the cans, I was worried that the cans stabbing through aluminum, you know, cutting through that might affect the blade a little bit, but it really doesn't seem like it has. So I mean, technically, if you were going to feather stick with this thing, I'm more comfortable using the recurve section just because it's closer to my hand for tasks like this. But we're getting nice little tiny slivers of wood that we could easily start a fire with. And I wish I had a flatter thing to work with here. I feel like that recurve section definitely is sharper. It's I don't know if it's sharper, if it's just a matter of control, but look how we're, like, if you needed to start a fire, yeah, we're shaving a lot of wood here. I mean, you get so much cutting surface that even though it doesn't feel as sharp, and again, I don't know if that's just in my head or not, we are moving material like crazy. So yeah, nice. Chopper. And so far, I don't see any problems with the edge or blade at all. Those hot spots that I talked about, that I worried about on the edges, they're bothering me a little bit. But other than that, it is, damn, it's a workhorse so far, you know? Man, that recurve section, it just kicks ass. Look at it go. And you know, the straight edge does too. It's not as comfortable to work with. But this whole thing just goes. Chopping was high on the list of things people wanted to see this thing do. In the immortal words of every judge on Forged in Fire, it's not always about what the knife does to the wood, it's also about what the wood does to the knife. So, should I have a lanyard on here connected to my wrist? Yes. Do you see one on the knife? No. Got all the way out into the woods and then realized I forgot to do one. So, number one, yeah, I'm an idiot. Number two, don't do what I do. And number three, it would mean a lot to me if you would just pretend that you see one on there. Yeah? Can we just agree to this fantasy thing? Okay. So, it is raining, it's a little wet, but this is a pretty good sturdy little guy to do some chopping on, so. And I am raining down rain on this camera, but okay. Damn. I honestly did not expect it to perform like this. no rolls on the edge at all, I do believe we could chop down this tree if we kept going. But like I said before, these edges here do get uncomfortable over time. Now, if I had a glove on, maybe that would feel a little bit better. But the edge on this, so what I was complaining about before with the size of it and having a little difficulty getting that fine control is now really working in its favor, because that weight up at the forward momentum, man, you've got that forward momentum really, I mean, bam. And you know, the sound, every time I do that, the sound makes me think maybe I've chipped the blade or something. And yeah, it's moving, with the chop, it's moving up in my hand, and that does not feel good. But do you see what we're doing to this damn tree? And this is a good 2 inches in diameter. This is not a small little guy. Much better than I expected, actually. I'll come back and I'll get this later. I'll cut it into smaller pieces, but that'll be like firewood and testing wood, and damn, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. This thing, with its weight and the center of gravity and the balance, this is get to the chopper. Now, this is a chopper. And that recurve section, man, when you hit with full force on that recurve, it takes material out. That is pretty awesome. So I'm going to come back later on and get that. We're going to do some more testing to this guy. We're going to do something a little bit different here too, because this guy's holding up really good. So gear ties, gear wires, you guys familiar with this? It's rubber. It's a rubber coated wire. It's a metal wire. Very useful for many things, but it is, after all, a rubber coated metal wire. So let's see what happens. And again, this is not about does the knife just chop through the metal wire. This is about what happens to the knife blade as we do this test. So this is where it's, like I said, it's kind of hard because the geometry here is that point wants to hit, but getting a flat chop. And here's our wire inside, just so you see what we're cutting. So I'm hitting only with one little specific part of the blade there. Ooh, that was my finger. Now, I can feel along here, I don't know if you're going to see it, a couple small little, I just run my nail along there, a couple little tiny areas. I can feel where it actually hit the wire, but no major damage. I mean, there's, I don't know if it's going to pick it up right there. Right there where it was mainly hitting. A little roll or something, but if we take a piece of wood here, it still wants to cut right into this. I'm abusing the crap out of this camera today. Sorry, camera. But wonder if I have camera insurance. I don't know. yeah, after hitting that wire several times, I'm still able to use this edge for general stuff, general utility kind of stuff. I mean, that recurve section, man, that's the beast. But not bad. You can definitely, from my angle here, I can definitely see that little burr or roll, whatever it is right there. I say, now it's time to test this edge out against the ultimate nemesis, though. The big foe. The arch rival. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, it's cardboard time. It's time to really stress this edge out and make it, take it. Yeah. So, we're going to cut this box into its little component pieces, and we are going to slice this thing up. Now, this is not a very big box, but you know, we can get a lot of cuts out of it by separating it and, you know, tearing it open. And I mean, so this is going to be a lot of cardboard for us. And so we'll cut it like this, and then we'll cut it like this, and we'll actually cut it lengthwise, and then we'll cut down each individual strip. We'll make it a lot of cutting, and it's probably not going to be too fun for me, but here is a better, I don't know if it's going to show up better. Do you see those little deformations along the blade for cutting the wires? Anyway, we're going to see how this does, and don't worry, you guys will get the fast forward version of it all. So, let's go. So that was a lot of cutting, and I can maybe feel a little wear on the edge there. You'll notice I stayed completely away from the recurve on purpose. But after all that, yeah, we definitely have some wear and tear on the edge, but some of the blade is still wants to cut. When we get right around there, that it's had it. But I mean, it still starts to cut. Let's see the recurve. The recurve, and I did a lot of chopping on the recurve, mind you. I didn't do the cardboard on the recurve, but this blade is tough. I didn't do any of the wire on the recurve. I didn't do the cardboard on the recurve. I did all that abuse on the straight edge here, but it's solid enough that it wants to start cutting, and I think that with just minimal resharpening and edge maintenance, we could get this back to a great cutting edge again. In fact, I might try to do that real quick just to see what the result is. So let me get, and I'm not going to use anything fancy. I'm not going to use a Lansky or a KME or a Work Sharp or anything like that. I'm just going to use some hand stones real fast. It's very simple stuff. And let's see what we can do to get this edge back in cutting shape. So in the interest of keeping it nice and simple, I stropped on the back of my Ontario 499. Just after the little sharpening here with the simple whetstone, and minimal effort to get this thing back into cutting shape. Nice. Very nice. Very easy. And you know what? Let's just use these. So whatever lacquer coat they put on this to protect the blade did a really good job to protect the blade. Again, this is D2, which leaves it susceptible to a lot of marring, scarring, and other stuff. I'm not using anything to clean it. I'm just wiping it down. So we have a little bit of, you know, discoloration and stuff on the surface, but overall, it looks good. It looks very good. So yeah, that was not too hard to get that blade back into shape, and that's the important thing, you know. So, well, let me clean this up, then we'll wrap it up. So wrapping it up, here we go. Is it ridiculous? Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I'm going to question talk now, like a good military instructor should. Is it ridiculous? Yes, in a way, it's ridiculous. Does it perform? Hell yeah, it performs. Are there a few issues? There are. This is definitely, you know, the edges on the handles definitely give you some hot spots. But can you solve that problem? Yeah, you can. It's very easy. I mean, simple sandpaper. All you got to do is, you know, you just sand that edge down. And the thing is, you won't lose your grip or your indexing at all. That's the important part. In fact, it might even give you a slightly better grip because you can squeeze tighter because you'll have those rounded edges. But you'll still have a nice oblong grip, you know, perfect blade indexing in your hand, and the handle itself is very ergonomic. You know, your fingers go right into those scallops really nicely. But the thing is, this thing, when I first decided I was going to test it, when they first showed it to me, I didn't know what to expect out of it, and I thought it was more fantasy than function. But and I'm not sure who the designer on this thing is. It has the weight just right, it has the geometry just right, it has the balance just right. So even if you just hate it for the way it looks, there are some issues with certain types of chopping because of the way the blade sits in relation to the handle. Like if you're trying to get just a perfect flat down chop, that is an issue. But if you're not trying to chop onto a flat surface, if you're trying to chop, say, wood, if you're trying to chop down, if you're, you know, this thing will perform for you. Now, I didn't do like meat slicing and things like that because realistically, I would not use this knife for that. Some people might. Some people might use this in a kitchen capacity. And I didn't test that because you can look at the geometry of this blade and you can know that, listen, if you're going to try to dice and stuff, you can do that. That's not a problem. But it is not a cleaver. By nature, a cleaver gives you the cutting edge of the blade much further down, separated from the handle, so that you can make that flat chop with your knuckles far removed from the cutting surface. That's just not what this does. This is not that kind of chopper. It is a chopping blade for you to chop where your fingers are away from the material you're chopping. But it does it. It does it really well. I am very impressed. So through our tests today, which are some of what I would normally do to test, and also some of the things that you guys asked to see. Some comical I did just because you guys asked, but some were pretty good. I mean, the way it chopped that can clean in half, I was very impressed. The third one, just clean in half, was pretty awesome. That was pretty good. And you know, the edge, while still, now I just did a minimal maintenance to just put a good cutting edge back on this thing. If I was gonna fully do this, I would take the Lansky, because you can see there are still some little burrs on that edge from all the chopping. That's mostly from chopping the wire. But you know, one of the important things we're looking at with a knife is, number one, does it retain its edge? And number two, how hard is it to maintain that edge? And what I was looking for was, if this is your knife and you're out in the field, number one, how long does it retain that edge? What do you have to do to really mess up that cutting edge? And that cutting edge was not razor sharp, but it would have kept cutting for you out in the field. It would have. But what did we have to do to put a really fine edge back on that? All we had to do is use a simple whetstone. 1,000 and 6,000 grit. Nothing crazy. We didn't have to go to diamonds. We didn't have to resort to any crazy sharpening system. And that's why I always say this, and I will fall back on Dark Hammer Forge, who comments on everything, and he's an excellently skilled knifesmith, bladesmith. We both say this: heat treat is everything, and this is an excellently heat treated blade. D2 is a great steel when it's heat treated properly, and it takes abuse, but it's not so highly heat treated to such a high RHC that you can't maintain that edge simply and easily, yourself. And then if you have advanced tools, you can make this thing razor blade sharp, I'm sure, like that, and it will hold on to that edge too, through your normal tasks. Now we put it through some more abusive stuff than you probably would out in the field. Don't forget everything we did to this all at once before I did any maintenance on it. But I definitely like it. I didn't at first. I wasn't sure. There are still some places where I would be like, not my first choice for certain tasks. But man, this thing is a beast. And with a little modification on the handle and with the right tasks in mind, I would definitely want to carry this thing around. Now, this is going to... So my Patreon guys are going to decide... I'm doing a giveaway just for the Patreon folks, and they're going to decide if they're going to... the winner of it is going to decide if they're going to keep this or the new Kubey KU219. And whichever one they don't pick, that is going to be given away on the channel. So either this or the new Kubey KU219 is going to be given away, in a general subscriber giveaway on the channel. I'm not sure which one yet, but we'll find out. But that is to come later. What I want to know from you guys now is, what did you think of what we did with this and how it performed? So I know that there were a bunch of people who thought this thing was just a Gil Hibben style fantasy knife that wasn't going to do anything. And the very first test, there were people who said, yeah, you know what you should do with it, hang it up on the wall and leave it there. That's why I did that. I thought it would, sure, I did that. And it looks good on a wall. But who didn't think, number one, who didn't think this thing would perform at all and be useful for anything? Who did think, yeah, this was going to be a pretty useful blade and was not surprised? Who thought it did exactly as it was going to do? And then my second question is, who would be in, who is now thinking about getting one? Was anybody a convert to, you first saw it like me, you first saw it and you're like, well, this is kind of ridiculous, but now you're like, maybe I will look into that. There's some hot glue on the desk, which is what I'm messing with right now. Anybody have that change of heart, or the other way around, you looked at it and you were like, hey, that's so cool, I want to get it, but now after seeing some of the testing we did with it, you're like, I'm gonna skip it. Maybe there are better blades out there for me. I'm just curious, I want to know. So I appreciate everybody that contributed ideas for the testing, whether they were serious or silly. I had a lot of the same ideas over and over, which made it really easy to do. And I love participation on the channel. It makes it so much fun. So anyway, guys, I hope this was entertaining and informative. I was going for a more entertaining video on this one, and I hope we got that. So let me thank Kubey once again. Kubey for sending this to me just for reviewing and testing out. Kubey is an awesome company. They do make great blades, and more often than not at really good prices. So thank you, Kubey. I really had a good time with this, and I will give you a link to the Kubey website so you can check out all of their cool stuff that they have. Once again, this is available on their website and on Amazon. I'll give you a link to this on the Amazon influencer page if you're interested in picking one up. But to all of you that sat through all of this, hopefully you got a chuckle. Please remember, I appreciate every single one of you. You are all absolutely awesome, and I will be back again real soon.